Okay, hi Seminole Ridge. This is John Marshall, the DrillMaster. We have armed platoon here. Long video, pretty interesting, about an hour long, all kinds of different things throughout. But Austin has requested that I just stick with armed platoon, so we will start now. We will start now. We will start. There we go. Good job. Actually, let me see that again. Speeding up their colors. So, just FYI, the harness socket is supposed to be below the waist, and I can't stand those things. These harnesses are just, yeah. I know they're less expensive than this type. This is so much better. It's just expensive, and I get it. I understand that. Of course. There we go. All right. So I've got to mention this. Remove the caps when you're performing. Just have a little box or a bag or something. Take those off. They just look so... I understand why they're there, and law enforcement understands why they're there. Nobody else understands why they're there, and they don't present a good image. So to be more precise with your facing movement there, you lift on count 1 and place on count 2, and then rock back. You're executing a right face, so you move in 2 counts. 1, 2, right face, 1, 2. We get that. So lift on the first count, bring the rifle over, and then set it directly down. And you did that, although much of the placement of the rifle was late. So it was after you executed the facing movement. And I would suggest, you don't have to do this, that nothing says that you have to do this. I would suggest to make it a little smoother and more streamlined, that you set down on count 2 and then rock back so that your thumb is along the trouser seam on well, it doesn't even have to be a count after. It can be just immediately after you set the rifle down. And then also make sure that all 3 toes are aligned, which looks like most everybody has. Maybe a little forward here, and here the rifle isn't grounded for this cadet. Also arm bent. So once you set it down, you should have your arm fully extended, not locked, not so that you can't bend your elbow, but your natural bend in your elbow. Lift, place, rock. That's a good way to remember to do that. And then commander, try and make sure that you are pulling down on your sling so that your forearm is horizontal, but you want the rifle as vertical as possible. It's just about communication with your audience, and seeing this looks, and I'm not calling you lazy, I'm just saying it looks a little lazy. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are, that's the look that's coming across to me. So I would be somewhat less impressed if I were to judge this performance. So essentially I am. So having that vertical, it's just a little more sharp and military looking, if you know what I mean. There we go. Good. Don't look down as you march. So are you executing? Gonna have to go back. The camera's really close there. Whoops, way too far. Camera's way too close, and I can't tell exactly, but pivot, and you're pivoting, 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 pivoting. Okay, so that's not the Army technique. Actually, it's nobody's technique. So everybody but the Army will pivot once, 45, march so many steps, and then pivot another 45, and then march. That's everybody else but the Army, okay? So what the Army does is, here, I'll do this. They pivot once and then arc around. It's just one pivot, okay? So it's everybody marches up to where the squad leaders are and executes that pivot, but you all arc around. It's a big curve. As you're at trail arms, make sure that was good set down. But see, hold on here. Make sure that your rifle is about 3 inches off the marching surface. But here, this elbow, this shouldn't be. And I understand that this young lady is a little shorter than the others. She's probably short enough to where she's grabbing a thicker part of the rifle. It's a little more difficult to hold on to. Perfectly understand that. This, though, just sticks out like a sore elbow, okay? So if you're going to grab, well, I'll just use this, my lighter rifle here. So if you're, and she's, most likely she's down here rather than up here where I would be at 6'2". So if you're here, you're having difficulty grabbing. I get that. However, please try and make every effort to fully grasp the rifle as you're marching. Hold it. It's just a few steps that you're marching at trail. And actually, you don't have to march at trail. So if they're, and I'm noticing your height difference too. It's all over the place. So you aren't aligned by height, which would look a lot more professional as well. Anyway, if she's having a significant amount of trouble, you might want to consider going to port or even right shoulder. Just a suggestion. But the elbow cannot stick out like that constantly. Every arm, because we're noticing then variation of technique, and it's just the one individual, but still it just sticks out considerably. So again, we had the the facing movement, 1, 2, and then set down of the rifle, and it's easy to, even with the left face. And I did see some rifles, I call it left behind. So you're facing this direction. Your rifle is here, and then your trail foot, the right foot, moves, and you're pulling the rifle along with the toe of that foot. It would be much easier if I could stand and show you that. But so then the rifle does this as you move it, as evidenced by a couple of members here as they were executing the facing movement. So what you want to do, just like the right face, on the left face, you're going to lift and bring the rifle over this way on that first count, and then set it down on the second count. Maybe one day I can stop by and go over a couple of things with you. I hope I can. Anyway, let's Austin, let's make arrangements for that, okay? Yeah, no charge. It's not a big deal. But it's much easier to show you in person, or if I was standing on the video, but here it's a little difficult. Okay, slight phasing here. Also, a bit of rifle rock, if we want to call it that. So, Commander, you're giving left face, so you have a difference in projection there, a little bit of a difference, but really there needs to be inflection of the first command, the preparatory command. So it should be left and not just left, left face. We don't have those diagrams that we used to back in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s. The diagrams that show the inflection that is really necessary for commands. So try, and I know you're used to it already. You call commands at a certain tone, a certain level, but so yeah, it's not as smooth as it could be. And anyway, your voice, just try to try to get inflection in there. It's going to take some muscle memory development there. But look at there's variation of technique here. Not much, but here's what I see. So you're at, this is going to be a little long, I think. So you're at port. Port should, if you notice my wrist here, it's pretty smooth. It's a little bit rounded out, just a little bit. Here my wrist is smooth. So it's a neutral wrist. That's what I want. I don't want this as I'm holding, or I don't want this as well here with my right hand. I also don't want this with my left like this, and that's what almost everyone is doing. You can see, I call it kind of a shelf, because you're creating a shelf for the rifle to rest on. And so you have, not that the rifle is all that heavy, but you have that weight then only supported essentially with the wrist. And so if you have a more neutral wrist, the weight of the rifle is supported with the arm, but it also looks better. It's a much cleaner look rather than having that big bend there. And then with that bend also, you have the fingers that are not, even if the hand is large enough, the fingers are not able to wrap around like they are here. So there's a big difference between this and this. Even though it's just a slight movement, there's still that big difference. And then we have mostly consistent rifle angles, except right here. This is more towards her shoulder, the outside of her shoulder, when it should be dissecting, between the neck and the shoulder there. But I highly suggest, and again, I was talking about commander's muscle memory with calling commands. This is going to be a muscle memory thing too. Relearning is always a pain. Learning at the first is much better. So we can see a different hand placement as well by the right hand. And then order, see, it should be rifles grounded, all three toes aligned.
Sir, Cadet Keller, Cadet Corporal Keller from Seminole Ridge Community High School, Army, Junior, ROTC, male mix, armed platoon, reports TC3-21.5. Permission to utilize your drill area, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good job. That was a nice report in. So, Commander, don't execute the moves. You are in the commander position. You're outside of the platoon, and you are calling these commands for the platoon to go through, not all of you to go through doing the same thing. If that was the case, you'd be inside the platoon, just like you're in colors and you respond to your own commands. So don't respond to your own commands. You are the commander. You do the commander thing, which is to stand there at attention and call commands. Elbow here. This is not right shoulder. The first count is bring the rifle across. Second count, drop that hand to the rifle butt. Third count is to place the rifle on the shoulder. Look at my elbow here. My elbow's here. Not doing this, not having the back of my hand angled forward. So turn the hand, drop the elbow. This is what you should look like. Slight phasing there, but not too bad. Good. Good job. That was well done. Nice. Good job, Commander. And team as well. Not bad. Again, just slight phasing here and there, but this is what I was talking about. This, well, actually, no, this isn't what you should look like. You need to have all fingers extended and joined at the side of the rifle, not with even just a finger bent around the front. All three toes aligned right here, and then the thumb needs to be along the trouser seam. So you need to pull the rifle back so that it is vertical and not angled forward. I know that a rifle rests on the butt and it kind of leans forward, but that's because of the placement of the use of the rifle in the shoulder. There's a certain angle for the butt stock, and then it's all, you know, the mathematics of rifle use. Here, it needs to be a slight adjustment. Yeah, tons of pivots there. That's not a thing. So make sure that you're executing a heel strike on those columns, everybody. As soon as you, as you're turning and then marching forward, you need to heel strike at a half step. You caught up. That's good. So, and I didn't see all that much variation in spacing and alignment. Yeah, not bad at all. There is just some on that right flank. There was some slight variation, I think, right here, and in the kitty corner to third squad leader here, just slight. So that's the end step. Remember the end. We have a walking base in between our feet as we're walking. Well, it's the same thing for marching. So you need to keep the walking base in between the feet, and then you need to make sure that you have that 30-inch. Maybe you're not all taking a 30-inch step. Maybe it's, say, 28 inches. Doesn't matter. What it's consistent throughout. So make sure that you have that consistent step as that end step, that last step that you're taking in the current direction. That end step here for the right flank is going to be a left step. And then you're going to pivot and swing the right foot over again, it has to have the walking base there, the marching base that we have, and it also has to have that distance heel to heel of the normal step that you're taking. So there was a slight variation. It's probably a little bit shorter than with a couple of the, looked like a couple female cadets. Not a big deal, but it does, you can see that tiny variation there. And I'll show you. So, and it's not uncommon. You see here, slight adjustment with spacing. So slight adjustment with the initial step, probably on the left flank was a little bit too large for to stay in line with the third squad leader, and then then that second one was maybe a little bit too wide coming over. Don't know exactly. I'd have to study and all that, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not uncommon to have a variation for left flank and right flank to be different, because we're made with two sides and not everything works exactly the same on both sides. So just make sure your end step is the same and your walking base is the same through those pivots. Nice job, team. Good. A little bit of variation there, also with the rear march. Slight phasing on arm swing, but that's because, and I can see it here with first squad leader. First squad leader has a larger backswing than the rest of the platoon, so it's taking him a little longer to come forward with that arm, and so it's just the other two squad leaders have their arms out in front, and as they start to swing back, then he comes out in front and then starts to swing back. So it's just that slight phasing in the movement you can see there. It's kind of a blah, 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 ripple. Remember to heel strike and not whole foot. Looks like what most everyone's doing. Maybe a couple of toes. So, okay. So, Commander, you're doing fine. It was just wild to see you do the change step. So, step is the change step. So it's change step, march, step, step. Okay, just like that, and it has to be at double the. Those three steps have to be double the timing. So it's change step, march, step, step, step. So just slide the foot up next to the right foot, up next to the left, and then step off with the left again. And that actually enables you to change the step from left, right to then right, left. And you don't see it because you're the only ones marching, and your change step doesn't really mean anything. But if somebody else was marching with you, another formation, then you'd see it. So don't skip, don't do that little hop, but just slide those feet in there and you'll get it. It just takes some practice. Yeah, it should have been a little faster than that, Commander. Some phasing on that arm drop as well rifle movement. So, I wanted to go back for a little, just a little farther. Okay. It's quite a large step for, yeah, so that was, most people were doing the skip and the weird hop thingy. So, yeah, step, step, step. And it's just a slide, not a hop. So 15 inches is the half step. First squad leader looks to be taking a larger step initially after the column left. Yeah, he pulls out in front there. Yeah, so you're taking 2 steps. You're pivoting and taking 2 steps and then going into half step. So it should be pivot 1 full step, a 30-inch step, and then start your half step, the 15-inch step. Yeah, that's it. That was a better rear march. So I'm noticing that arm swing also is. Why did you stop saluting, Commander? Eyes right. You're going to come over, grab, salute. You're marching, marching, marching. Ready, front, drop your salute, hand, drop, arm swing. That's the technique. You don't drop your salute and then give the command. So, but I'm noticing that arm swing is inconsistent throughout the whole team. So and I'm looking at the forward swing. The back 3 here have fairly large forward arm swing, and they're all 3 of them are consistent. Whereas then you look at let's see, what, the 3rd rank and even 2nd rank, they're different. They're a little bit less on that forward swing. Did you call that on the right foot? Not the correct foot, I meant the right foot. If you, when you need to change shoulders, so here we have forearm not horizontal, forearm not horizontal. If you call it on the right foot, the shoulder exchange is easier. Yeah, you didn't. So you called it on the left, which makes an awkward arm swing afterwards. You have to come down and then bring your arm forward, and then, which is okay. That's not that big of a deal. But calling it on the right foot creates a tempo, creates a coordination, not a tempo. A coordination where you will drop the arm naturally to your side, but it's also in the for a more natural for a backswing, instead of dropping the arm out to the front when you know you should be dropping it to the side to come to attention. That's the the normal muscle memory is to drop that arm right down after you go to left shoulder. You know, move your rifle over, go to left shoulder, and your arm comes down. So it's just more natural then to bring the arm down and continue with that backswing, and then swing forward as the left foot comes forward. So calling it on the right foot is going to be a little more natural for everybody. So when you're out of step, you need to make sure that you can execute that change step and get back into step as quickly as possible. That's called recovery. And judges should be looking for recovery. Oh, so I'll mention it. The school cadets don't seem to be taking my advice for this, but the command is right shoulder or right flank march. That's fine. Over the right, and I noticed this a couple other times. So over the right shoulder, since you're marching away from your platoon, you have them behind you. That was good. You're going to the right, so you call it over the right. That's a well done. But it's not right flank march. You don't turn your head just for the preparatory command and just for the command of execution. You call it for the command. So the whole command, two-part command here, preparatory command of execution. It's right flank, march. Well, Army's going to say march. So when you are calling commands, you're going to turn your head and call out the whole command, wherever the platoon is. But as you're marching and calling commands, it's turning your head once for the whole command, not sections of the command. Okay? Some torso movement there to help manipulate the rifle. And did I...
Permission to leave your drill area, sir. Platoon, halt. Order, arm. Left, face.
Yeah, you're leaving the rifle behind and bringing it over.
Sir, permission to leave your drill area, sir. Thank you, sir. Right, face. Right shoulder, arm. Forward, march.
So I've given you several critiques over the years, but the elbows still stay the same. The head keeps turning like this. So if you're not going to use the critiques as intended, then why do I keep giving them? Just something to consider. All right. Okay. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.